Welcome to the High Fae Housewives podcast. I'm Blakely.
And I'm Kylie.
We are currently working towards our Maasters in the Maasverse. Our current course is focused on the Court of Thorns and Roses, which is the first book of Sarah J. Maas's ACOTAR series. We will cover this book in 2 parts, and today we'll be discussing chapters 1 through 23. You can expect a spoiler-free summary at the top of the episode, and then we will break it all down with our theories and connect it with the rest of the Maasverse.
We will only have spoilers for Throne of Glass and Crescent City as we tie things in. We will only have spoilers for the current ACOTAR for the current ACOTAR book that we are talking about. Warning, while we may be your silly gal pals, we don't recommend listening to this podcast around little ears or ears that may be offended because we say bad words and shitty things. Now relax those shoulders, unclench those jaws, clench that clam, and let's get into it. Normally we would ask about ratings, but like literally 5 stars, no notes. But actually a ton of notes.
Yeah, we have a lot of notes, but agree, 5 stars, no notes.
Like 30 pages of notes.
It's fine. Previously in Prythian, chapters 1 through 23, we meet our FMC, Feyre, an illiterate Porsy who is out in the woods hunting to put foods on the table for her fam bam. She lives in the human lands, but apparently there's also land called Prythian full of fairies right next door. While playing Katniss, she ends up shooting a wolf that may or may not be a fairy. Feyre came back to her lazy family, and they were pretty jacked about her kills and the money she'd get for the hide. Her middle sister was Elaine, who's nice, and Nesta, who's a bitch. Their dad, who's a bump on a log with a gimpy leg because debt collectors beat the shit out of him. Oh, and their mom is dead, and made the youngest, Feyre, our FMC, promise to stay together and look after them. The next night, a very large beast with horns stormed into their hovel and was big mad, growling and calling them murderers. Nesta was quick to say, not us, but once they got a little bit more information, they realized he meant the wolf at Feyre 86. The beast let her know that she broke the rules of the treaty, but he doesn't have to kill her. She can come live in Prythian with him. Her family didn't put up much of a fight, so they were on their way. Feyre and the beast were off to travel to her new digs. She was unsure what awaited her because she was an ignorant slut when it came to Prythian laws. Before she could ask questions, the beast magically rupied her, and she woke up right as they were entering his lands, which, BT dubs, this house is hella nice and would definitely end up on cribs. Feyre was a little rumbly in her tumbly, and now the High Fae male, no longer beast, told her to eat the non-poisonous food. She also got to meet the non-beast's red-headed friend, Lucien, who wasn't impressed Andres was dead. I forgot to mention that everyone, including the staff, was wearing a golden mask. Feyre also met Alice, who was the maid, and was charged of bathing her and making sure she no longer had a unibrow. Important stuff. At her next meal, Feyre learns that her family is well taken care of, and then Lulu and Tam Tam want to play 21 questions, asking things like, is she banging anyone, and does she love him? Not at all suspicious. Feyre left feeling not very grateful and quite insecure. The next morning, Alice gives her a little information other than she's safe in the house, but to keep her wits about her. As she went exploring, she was interrupted by Tamlin, who literally had zero game, asking if she wanted to tour, but she said, nay. Feyre did get some answers, though. There's a blight that has been spreading the last 50 years, and that has made magic act strangely, and his powers diminish because of it, and that's also why he's a mask stuck to his face. Unclear if it will also spread to the human lands. Tamlin tried yet again to give her a house tour, and not the Sabrina Carpenter kind, but she was like, nope, and headed off to find Lucien. They ended up going on a hunt together, which Lulu knew her intentions on trying to curry his favor, so he could help convince Tamlin to let her go. But he's like, no dice, and their pleasant ride was interrupted by a bogey, who tried pretty hard to kill her but was unsuccessful. Once Tam heard, he was hella pissed and went hunting for it. Feyre got another scare when she thought her gimp-legged father was here to rescue her, but it was just a damn puka. Tamlin and Feyre had an actual conversation that involves him telling her that the vow that she made to her mother is still very much being fulfilled, and the family is A-okay. While Feyre was wandering the halls, she ran into Tamlin in his beast form. He had killed the bogey and a bloody hand to prove it. Feyre took it upon herself to fix up Tam Tam's bloody hand, and he had a few compliments for her, and this time it was better than, your hair is clean. The next morning, Feyre was dropping some eaves, and she heard Lulu and Tam fight about Tamlin giving up and not even trying. She was unclear what the fuck it meant, but she figured the blight. After Lulu stormed off, Tamlin and Feyre were left to hang. He promised she could use the study, so her wish was granted. After practicing how to read, she wandered the library and found a mural of the story of Prythian. She could tell it wasn't meant for insignificant human eyes, so she went back to her table and continued trying to read, but Tamlin scared the shit out of her and pissed her the fuck off by asking if she needed help writing to her family. So yeah, things were going well. So well, she sought out Lulu, asking him how to snare a Suriel, and he obliged. Feyre turned out to be an excellent Suriel hunter. The Suriel wasn't much of a looker, basically a bony Voldemort with even worse dental hygiene, with milky white eyes. But what he lacked in looks, he made up for in tea. Feyre found out Tam is the High Lord of the Spring Court, and she can't go home or her and her family will be dead. And then she learned Hybern lore, but right as he was getting to the good part, pesky Naga showed up. He did leave her with stay with the High Lord and leave to see everything righted. Once the 4 freak shows popped up, she shot her arrow to help the Suriel escape and shot a Naga, and then she was off. But they're faster than her, and she's quickly surrounded. She's able to shank one in the neck right before Tamlin shows up to make sure they're sleeping with the fishes. Tamlin was shooketh when he heard Feyre was becoming besties with the Suriel, and he was impressed with her and even told her more nice things, like her fam was a bunch of dummies for not realizing how great she is. He blows her mind, but not in a fun way, by telling her that in the war, fairies fought alongside the humans, and continues the blowin' by explaining her family thinks she's taking care of her long-lost aunt. They don't remember him barging in because he glamored their minds. Feyre admits she would like some paint. He promises to track down supplies and show her the gallery. He smiled, and Feyre started catching feels. Things are getting weird in the crypt. Feyre wakes up to screaming because a poor fairy's wing had been cut off courtesy of the Night Court. But Tam makes it better by taking her on an adventure to a beautiful glen and pools of starlight. This is the part in the rom-com where there's a lot of smiling and stolen glances to one another, which continued the next day when Tamlin gave her art supplies and key to the gallery. Feyre found out she had hobbies other than starvation and trauma and paints her days away. And when she's not painting, she continues to fall for Tamlin, even though he has the charisma of a fence post. He even kissed her on the hand once after she trauma dumped about her family not loving her. Oh, and he writes silly poems. What a dreamboat. Shit was weird. A scary creature called the Adder visited, and now it's Fire Night, or Calanmai, but she was under very strict orders that she couldn't participate and had to stay in her rooms. Naturally, she did the opposite. While on an adventure, creeps tried to do bad things to her, but the most beautiful man she had ever seen saved her, said, "There you are. I've been looking for you." The two have a moment, chat a bit, but then she's on her way, only to get scolded by Lulu. He explains the great right to her, and then she went back to her rooms. Once again, she refused to listen, left her rooms where Tam Tam bit her on the neck, then made out with it, then smelled her getting aroused, growled, and stalked off. The next morning, the topic of conversation was Feyre's hickey on her neck. They barked at each other, and then he apologized with roses from a parent's garden, so Feyre rewarded him by wearing a dress to dinner and by showing him her strange paintings, which he was totally into. They also both are into taking naps together on the grass. Kinky. Things are heating up.
It's so scandalous. A nap.
A nap and sweet nothings in each other's ear? Get out of here.
It's a little slutty of Feyre, honestly.
I mean, she's
It's
a bit of
giving
water.
big human skank.
Yes, that's exactly what it's giving. That's what I would write in my burn book about Feyre.
Exactly. Like the whole time I'm reading this, the first time I was like, what is skank?
Like Isaac Hale in a barn. Whore!
That was so scandalous. I can't even believe her. Big tramp. You know she's got a tramp stamp.
Oh my God, she totally does. Law and Order. I think we should just go for it. Let's be hella dramatic.
I love a good dramatic read.
Yeah, it's true. Ready? It's hard because I have to go into talking right after that. And
Do you want me to say it?
A little bit, yeah.
Law and Order, Prythian unit.
No,
I don't think we should do that the whole episode.
When Feyre is giving us the lowdown on the history, that for a millennia before, they were slaves to the High Fae overlords. They built sprawling civilizations. Okay.
Civilizations.
You know.
They all have syphilis.
That's not where my brain went. I was thinking simulations, and you went to syphilis.
I almost went to drugs, and I was like, that's not right.
Always strengths with you.
It's early.
It is. Okay. When Feyre is giving us the lowdown on the history that for millennia before, they were slaves to the High Fae overlords. They built sprawling civilizations with temples for their feral gods. I'm going to stop right here and give you a little Maasverse nuggets. There's a moment in Crescent City House of Sky and Breath where this is said. Something feral opened an eye in Bryce's soul. And this is when I believe Deanna inhabited her body just like Deanna did to Aelin. And we'll get more proof of this later on in the series, actually later on in this episode.
So getting right into Law and Order.
It's giving Crawl the Warrior King.
I don't know where this voice came from. It's not one that's in my normal things. I don't make voices.
You don't make
Anyways, I have one. So we get some lore. It says from song sung to us. That is a mouthful. As lullabies over our cradles, we all knew from infancy that fairies hated iron, but it was the ash wood that made their immortal healing magic falter long enough for a human to make a killing blow, or so legend and rumor claimed. The only proof we had of the ash's effectiveness was its sheer rarity. I'd seen drawings of the trees, but never one with my own eyes. Not after the Fae had burned them all long ago. So few remained, most of them small and sickly and hidden by nobility within high-walled groves. The ash tree thing is interesting as hell to me, and let me tell you why. I was like, why would they burn all these trees down? That's not very environmentally friendly. So looking into the ash tree, this is what I found. In Norse mythology, Yggdrasil is a massive sacred ash tree that serves as the cosmic axis. It connects anchors and supports the 9 realms, including Asgard, the realm of the gods, Midgard, realm of the humans, and the underworld. We talked throughout Crescent City the connections to Midgard and Ragnarok, not just the planet in Crescent City, but also the mythology of Midgard. So naturally, we are immediately brought back here in ACOTAR. My question is, did the High Fae burn them, or was this a Daglin request to prevent some sort of world walking by the gods? Unclear if this is something that we'll get answers to, but it is fascinating.
It's a good little tidbit. Like, I'm not sure, honestly, why, but like, I like the connection.
Could be a reach, probably is, but just to find that is wild.
It is. I agree.
Witches give stitches.
I was like, what's a witch voice?
Not that.
No, that's not it. That's like WWE voice that you keep doing.
I'm just getting ready for the Midgard worm.
You're ready. Yeah, that's true. SmackDown, WWE, Feyre versus Midgard Worm.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad.
I'm going to have a blast the next episode.
I was like, I can't even do a voice for witches.
I've ruined it because now you probably want to go, witches give stitches.
I do every time. I'm like, what the fuck does a witch sound like? I can't, not one thought is in my brain. Yeah, I should have practiced my witch voice beforehand.
I'm really disappointed you didn't.
Now let's talk witchy rumors. Let's begin with Mama Archeron. Arrogant, cold with her children, but nice at social gatherings and seemed to adore her father. Oh, and she loved a party. No, I'm not describing Martha Stewart. Now, first off, we have the markings on the house, whirls and swirls. How does Selena describe word marks? Ah, yes, whirls and swirls. Then an ironwood bed. That was a wedding day present. Ironwood is what witches' brooms are made out of in Throne of Glass World and what Jessica's desk is made out of in CC. She makes her youngest daughter promise to keep them together and take care of them. Why, Feyre? Was she a seer that she knew would need to be in the woods?
A lot of thoughts. Like, what if the whirls and swirls were not to protect against the Fae, but something else, something bigger so that they didn't find Mama Archeron?
Or, yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Or Tamlin says that he followed the magic to her. But what magic? Is it the curse? Or was the whirls and swirls almost like a beacon to him, to the hovel?
It kills me that we have to call it a hovel because it took me so long to say that word right.
Huh. Yeah, had
Hovel.
ah. I mean,
It
it could whatever.
just
It's
sounds too much like Hoggle from Labyrinth, and we don't live inside him.
we don't live inside.
But why did her mom make her swear to help? Like this, there's so much emphasis on this. Like it's crazy that she would ask Feyre this, like when Feyre and her were not that close. She has to be a witch of some sort. Like we know Bryce and Lydia both kept their bad bitch like powers under wraps. So like why can't someone else? Like who's to say no government name Mama Archeron was not of similar vein?
I truly have so many thoughts about Mama Archeron. There's a lot about her that is suspicious that we can't really talk about yet, like her death. But I really think that she was a seer. She knew that Feyre needed to be in those woods for the fates to align.
A lot of thoughts on we'll get more into Feyre and like connections to witches because like you pointing this out about Mama Archeron, there's just so much that I found on her.
Yeah, and we talked about Mama Archeron in Crescent City, but I'm so excited to get into it here because there's juicy stuff and lots of angles we can go with it.
So she made Feyre promise like on 11 years ago when she wasted away on her deathbed, stay together, look after them. And then Feyre promised she was too young to ask why she hadn't begged her older sisters or her father, but Feyre sworn it. And then in their miserable human world, shielded only by the promise made by the Fae 5 centuries ago, in our world where we'd forgotten the names of our gods, a promise was law, a promise was currency, a promise was your bond. This makes me think about promises throughout the Maasverse. Every time I get
I
a
know.
little Midwestern. So in Throne of Glass, Selena would pair them with a blood oath. She promised to free Owie and sealed it with that because it was so serious. And in Crescent City, Fury specifically asked Bryce to not do anything stupid when she shares that Hunt was traded to that bitch Sandy. We know Bryce thinks that she was doing something smart, so she was finding a way around that. She literally says, I promised Fury not to do something stupid. I didn't say I wouldn't do something smart. The emphasis on the promise. Was it a throwaway line, or was she trying to use that currency and Bryce was telling us how she skirted around that?
Promises, vows hold a lot of significance throughout the whole Maasverse. And like you said, there's stuff we can't really talk about yet, but Sarah starts right away with it. Like there is so much in the first couple of chapters of Easter eggs from all different things. Like you're right, they make such an emphasis on like why Feyre had to make this. She's the youngest, but it doesn't make sense unless Mama Archeron knew more that she let on.
And I think that she definitely did because promises are pretty intense throughout this. Like even Tamlin says, like, I'm not gonna kill you, Feyre. I don't break my promises. And we'll get back into that one, but like they're no joke here. Just like identity theft. No joke.
Totally. It's not a joke. You mentioned Fury. So there's a common theory that Fairy Axstar, the international woman of mystery, is in fact the merc in the village. I don't subscribe to this, but I'll make the argument for the hell of it. They believe Fury is the merc because her description, onyx hair, chestnut eyes, tall, tan skin. Now, the description is extremely similar, yes. Also, the mention of her night dark eyes. Now, Kai and I were obsessed with getting to the bottom of Fury's origin story. One thing we tracked is that Fury was often compared to the night, liquid night. It was a common thing. But I want to put a pin in this and we'll circle back and talk about it in Aquar. But I don't personally believe that she was the merc. I like it though. It's fun, but I don't believe it.
When Pharaoh was talking to the mercenary, did you notice that Pharaoh was cut off from a thought? So the woman pulled back the sleeve of her heavy jacket, revealing a tan, muscled forearm flecked with gruesome, twisted scars, the arc of them so similar to. And then the mercenary interrupted the thought, saying the Fae she battled didn't have the brute size, force or size of the Martax. Similar to what? Like her dad's knee? Like what the fuck could that arc be similar to? Like, I bet it was Kathona's tits.
I think you're right.
It also says, against her tan skin, the veins were black, solid black, spiderwebbed, and creeping like frost. The healer said that there was nothing to be done for it, that I'm lucky to be walking with the poison still in my legs. Maybe it'll kill me one day, maybe it'll cripple me, but at least I'll go knowing I killed it first. Also, what the fuck? Like, black veins were mentioned 2 other times in the Maasverse, both times in Throne of Glass, on Narok, which is not one that I'm interested in, but on Kaltain, where the word stone was implanted under her skin. Black veins were running up from the implant, leaking its poison into her. And I find those similarities more fascinating than the mercenaries to Fury.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like, there's something there. I think it was definitely a demon of some sort, probably coming from the void or Valg or whatever. I even think of Bryce's bite from the Crystallos and the poison that was left inside of her. We get very little information of kind of what it looked like, but there was pain there. So I think she probably has some pain. The poison's in your fucking leg.
Why are the only one is it similar to Kaltain though with the word stone? That's what's because like everybody does put an emphasis on this Merc, like maybe there's more to it. Maybe she comes back in book 6 and her and Elaine are lesbians.
And Alex Cooper did ask SJM about it, and we got nothing. So,
That interview kills me because like we learned a lot, but we learned nothing at the same time.
which is fine because we don't want her to tell us things, but at the same time, like, give us a little something.
Give me a nugget, just a teeny nug.
Yeah, she gives a little, but not much. Okay, there's a couple times in the first half of the book where Feyre says something that she thinks is on a subconscious level. But you pointing out her almost recognizing the injury made me think of a couple instances. When she wakes up after being magically roofied by Tamlin, she says, magic. That's what that tang had been. I recognized the power deep in my bones from some collective mortal memory and terror, but I don't think it's a collective mortal memory. If Mama Archeron is in fact a witch, it would explain the depth of power once Feyre is turned. She already had magic in her blood. Maybe it technically skipped a generation at this point, but when she was turned, it helped make her even more powerful. Or we can go rogue. In Crescent City, we are told that reincarnation is a thing. So what if Mama Archeron was someone reincarnated and her collective memories from a previous world perhaps are being passed down?
She is reincarnated the matron Blackbeak. I was a blackbird. She's matron Blackbeak because we know she's a bitch.
I was going to say, because she's a bitch.
She's not a lover.
No. She's not a child and barely a mother.
That would explain Nesta. You know,
That's true.
Manon reincarnated, just kind of a bitch too. Manon's not exactly friendly. Just on
No, but we love her nonetheless. And Manon gets a lot of passes. Just want to throw that out there where Nesta gets 0. Besides Stans. We'll get back to her.
Yeah, well, Manon wasn't mean to Feyre in the way that Nesta was. Once again, I am a Nesta apologist.
Yeah, Nesta was a biggity bitch.
We're actually just about to get into them.
Speaking of, let's go to 23andMe Archeron Bloodlines. So let's talk about those sisters. First, I'm going to take my little fake Windex out and become my big fat Greek wedding. Names and their meanings. Feyre, fair and beautiful. Elaine derives from the Greek name Helena, meaning bright shining light, as well as fawn in Welsh. And yes, both are significant. Nesta, pure, holy, innocent. Come back to that.
Just getting into them a little bit, like their hair is described as gold brown hair, the hair all three of us had. And know what? No matter what, Elaine is Elaine Hendricks with blonde hair to me. I don't know why, but like that is her. Just
I picture Elaine Luna Lovegoody like hair, so I think blonde too. So she's a blonde. I don't care what they say.
platinum blonde though.
Yeah.
And then Farah has this hair color, but it's just like a little mousy in my mind
Mhm.
until like she turns Fae.
Yeah, then it's like a natural balayage,
Yeah.
but before, like, ooh, there's not a lot of depth in that hair. No shine to it.
Like, after she turns face, she's got the Mormon, like, waves, like, that
Mhm.
perfect, big, beautiful hair. She's got that going for her after.
That
And then Nesta, for some reason, in my mind, like, has a dark bob. Like, I know Nesta has long hair, but I just picture her with a bob and a Meryl Streep nose. Like, very specific, but, like, this is my vision for her.
maybe because Meryl Streep has a witchy nose, that is probably and Meryl Streep plays a witch, no shade to the nose. I picture long black hair. So, like, I don't care what they say with this golden brown, it's black.
They all have different color hair because they're just all very different sisters.
Mhm.
But the sisters are both really fucking awful to Feyre. Even, like, little Fauna Lane, she's a big bitch, too. She's the
Mm,
hidden bitch because she's like, "Oh, I'm so innocent. I plant my garden." But, like, she doesn't say the things, but she does the things.
yeah, and, like, she plants her flowers, but why can't you plant fucking food for your family?
She's like, "Man, I need a new cloak. I'm cold but can do nothing. I can't even garden."
Yeah, you and I both hate whiny behavior, so not a fan.
Yeah, I think Elaine's just a whiner in my book, truly. Like, can't get past it. Yikes.
And then, yeah, Nessa's just a fucking bitch.
She humiliates Feyre as much as possible. And, like, what a hot topic because, like, I do love her and not everyone does, but she's insecure about being poor. And, like, I get where she's coming from. Being a dancing queen to a hovel queen is like a rough transition.
It is. I just think Nesta stands, which you are very good at admitting, my friend. Shout out to Kylie Pritchard. Also is good at admitting because she's a huge, highly, she's a huge Nesta stan. You can love Nesta and still admit she was fucking terrible. She was terrible to Feyre. She's
100%.
not great in these until like ACOTAR. And
She's just
then
a projector because she's insecure.
sure,
She probably doesn't like her haircut, you know?
her bob.
Mhm.
And she wants a nose job. That's probably what it all comes down to.
I get being upset. She got the bob trend and was like pissed because I
Yeah,
did it and I'm pissed.
and you loved it for a week and then you changed your mind
I was
quickly.
like, this was so freeing until it wasn't.
We do have foreshadowing. Not only do we learn that Feyre is a budding Bob Ross, we have a Shadow of the Four moment with her dresser drawer painting. Elaine, violets and roses, Nesta, crackling flame, and Feyre, the night sky.
We always talk about the roses, but never the violets for that broad Elaine. Once upon a time, in Chapter 2 of Empire of Storms, Aelin Ashriver Galsinius was given a crown of forest violets by the little folk after they crossed into the border of Terrasen. And, like, this right here is the one that makes me wonder, is there a link between Terrasen and the Spring Court? Not anything else that we've ever said, literally this.
I believe so, and I think it has to do with the cauldron, but we'll get into that at a different time. And I mean, we bring up Tam, shape shifting abilities, blonde hair, green eyes, could be a Lysandra Adian descendant, but back to the violets, I'm on board.
Tamlin, once again, to remind everybody, he's not limited to his one beast form, and that's why everyone was wearing different masks that night to honor his shapeshifting. But, like, what if the Valg took Lyssandra's descendant and mated with a Valg? And I'm gonna get into Tammy's eye color in a minute.
Yeah, we both do a little.
I need to know what your thoughts are on Feyre as an FMC. Like, we've talked about it before, but now that we've read a ton of other books, thoughts on Feyre?
I I actually love Feyre. I do. I don't I also look at her, she's really fucking young. So in this book and the beginning of other books, she is a little annoying. But she's had hardcore trauma
Mom's
and
a bitch.
her mom's a fucking bitch. Her sister's a bitch. She has to do everything. Her dad just sits there. Like, I get her a little bit, so I like her. She's still a badass. I don't like when people try to rewrite history that she's not a badass. Like, she fucking takes care of her whole family starting at like way too young of an age. And she's the youngest.
She she is the older sister, but the youngest.
She is eldest daughter. Like,
Yes.
more so than Nesta. Nesta doesn't give eldest daughter energy. Elsa? Mm, Maybe the Ice Queen. Who knows?
Nesta gives youngest child syndrome.
Yeah, like Nesta gives only child syndrome because she
As
was,
a youngest child with only child syndrome, like, I think that's why I understand Nesta so much.
and I think I understand Feyre because to me she's very eldest child coded.
And to be clear, when I say youngest child with only child syndrome, like Amber, my sister and I lived very different childhoods. Like where she got caught sneaking out, I would just walk out the front door. Like I was a brat.
Yes.
Took a long time.
Yes.
After admitting to my dad this past weekend that I was the one that maxed out the gas card in high school because he didn't realize it
We had places to go. We had to go to Seattle.
and skip school. Really important things.
What else do you want from us?
We're from the court of dreamers.
Yeah. School can't hold us down.
Speaking of dreams, were Feyre's dreams mixed with reality or was she given visions? Because in chapter 17, she said she had dreams filled with the clicking of the surreal's bone fingers, the grinning Naga, and a pale, faceless woman dragging her blood red nails across my throat, splitting me open bit by bit. She asked for my name, but every time I tried to speak, my blood bubbled out of the shallow wounds on my neck, choking me. Like, is this a result of her bloodline? Is there a little seer in all of them? That's what she said.
I definitely think it's visions in my head. I think it's whether somebody that we know is subconsciously sending it to her, not realizing a connection at this point, or it could be the mother sending it to her for like a little nugget, like, hey, this is in your in your future.
I think it's the mother because there's also a moment in chapter 20 after the adder makes its first appearance when Feyre um, is questioning it. And then it says, the spring breeze whispered that I didn't want to know. The wind talks to witches.
It sure does. The wind talks to witches, and we think the Archerons are witches. Well, let's talk about a non-witch, Daddy Archeron.
Or could he be? Because that cane that Nesta loved to leave out of his reach, which by the way is hella mean and would be funny if she wasn't such a bitch. But she was being mean. She wasn't playing. Anyway, it says his simply carved cane was propped up against his chair, a cane he'd made for himself. What if this skilled carver that he was, he has to have a skill if he's like able to sell them, actually carved himself a wizard staff? I don't believe this, but like, what if he had a little sorcerer in him?
We know sorcerers exist in the Maasverse. Yeah, what if? I don't know. I think there's a lot more to Papa Archeron. Unclear if we will ever find out about it, but I think there's more to him.
I will never sexualize Papa Archeron in the way that I did the Thotham King. I just want to throw that one out there. I'm not going to sexualize it. He's
Thank
super
you.
weird.
Put some respect on his name, okay? And I think it has to do with his gimpy leg.
It's the knee, you know?
Yeah. Is that triggering to you with all your
My
broken
knee
limbs?
injury.
Your knee injuries that you're just like, fuck this guy.
He doesn't even bedazzle his wizard staff. He doesn't have a wizard staff. His walking stick.
I just want to say that I love that because we read fantasy, I immediately with like his wood carving, I'm like, oh, he'd be friends with Liam. They start merging in my head. I can't help it.
I want to get into the heart and soul of this all. The fiddlin', Fae Baes, Tamlin.
Yes, he is the heart and soul. Go ahead.
No. His name, Tamlin, it's a boy's name, in case you're wondering.
I was wondering.
It means twin, son of Thomas. Like, what if he's got a brother out there that's like, he was Quasimodo and they were embarrassed of him and they left him in a cave somewhere. And he's the one that's actually stealing people.
He's in the sacred cave.
I'm just saying.
I'm not against it.
I mean, we're introduced to him and he's in his beast form, but he has horns. And so he's not necessarily Sasquatch, but I think he's his cousin and his brother is Sasquatch. I think like there was the miss in my conspiracy theory. Talon's got a brother, a secret brother, and he is Sasquatch. I still think
Mhm.
hide your kids, like hide your wife. He's taking people from the mountains and the cave system, but he is not Sasquatch.
Yeah, it's a twin brother for sure.
The- Theories can evolve.
Theories do evolve. We get more information and we're like, you know what? I'm going to amend this and make it even better. And that's what happened.
He's not Sasquatch because he's got this weird ass eye color, and I think it's related to the Valg, in my opinion. They're green and flecked with amber, and those amber flecks are referenced as gold as well. Well, that's just fucking weird, isn't it? In Crescent City, House of Sky and Breath, I talked about eye color and the gold color connection to the witches in Throne of Glass. In Air of Fire, we learn gold flecked eyes are the heirloom of the Blackbeak clan's purest bloodline. Manon had pure gold, but Astra and several other witches have gold flecked eyes. And then we learn that Manon shares eyes with the Valg kings. We know witches are created from the Valg. They were demons who broke into Aurelia and mated with the Fae. Their offspring resulted in witches, hence the gold flecks in their eyes. So Tamlin's gold flecks make me question whether or not he is a result of the Daglin mating with the offspring, not a test tube baby, but like an experiment of a sexy knight.
I think that's definitely a possibility. Or, like I brought up earlier, Tamlin had green eyes with gold flecks, the green eyes being Lyssandra's eye color, and Adian had blue eyes with what? Ah, yes, those Ash River eyes with the turquoise with gold rings around the pupils. So this, we get the green from Lysandra and the gold from the Ash River line.
With the High Lords being weird, I don't think Tammy gets like the wholesome Ash River gold. His genetics suck, like knowing his dad's a prick.
But Adian sucks, so I'm okay with it. And Tamlin has anger issues just like Adian and even Aelin, let's be honest.
I don't know, like Val don't have like the best track record with their like I mean they do take over worlds, like they kind of got a shitty attitude.
A little bit, yeah. They're not great. Some maybe.
Allegedly, the Ballad of Tamlin is one of Tamlin's inspos, not Sasquatch. I can't find an official source on this, but you can definitely see the parallels.
I
This,
just watched that interview where she
okay,
does,
cool.
yeah, she does say this and Beauty and the Beast. So that
Thank
is
you.
correct.
I
I
just
watched
wanted I
the video.
couldn't find it and I was gonna verify like I cannot find it because like don't quote me.
I tried to find it once when we were working on something for Crescent City, could not. It randomly popped up on a YouTube like short. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's real.
Fate. So
Hmm.
it was originating in Scotland with many different variations of the tale, but the Ballad of Tamlin tells the story of a young woman named Janet who steals the love of her life and the father of her child from the cunning fairy queen. Every 7 years, the fairy folk must pay a tithe to Hel, one of their own people. And then this all happens on Halloween, aka Samhain, too. This is hilarious because Janet is your mom's name.
It is. And this makes sense for Janet,
It's
truly.
just meant to be. And I like for some reason, Janet is like my go-to name. Someone's like, what should I
Well,
name my pet? Janet.
Janet is now making me laugh because Karen is overused. So people also say like, well, she's not a Karen, she's a fucking Janet. And I get that, knowing my mother. It is a little boomer energy.
Yeah, but it's a fun name.
Fucking Janet. I mean, I never call my like when I'm talking about my mom, I never call her my mom. I just say Janet most of the time.
It's way more fun. Like mom, Janet, yes.
Fucking Janet. Makes sense.
I wonder if the Tamlin ballad gave the nice compliment of your hair is clean, which is one of my favorite compliments that any female main character has ever received.
I mean, Damon really does his best work at the dinner table. Another time at the dinner table, he made my eyebrows raise quite a bit. And it helps to add in our thoughts about Feyre's mother being other. Now, Tamlin asks Feyre, didn't your mother tell you anything about us? Not parents, mother. During our Crescent City coverage, we talked about bloodhounds a lot due to Danica being a bloodhound. And a reminder, a bloodhound is someone that can smell someone's heritage. Now, Danica is a shapeshifter. Tamlin, shapeshifter. The bloodhound in Throne of Glass was also a shapeshifter. I believe that Tamlin could smell something different in Feyre, not just human, and I do believe that came from her mother's side. Now, we will continue to build on this when we talk about Feyre and other books, but just a little Tamlin thought.
I definitely think he smelled something different because on Calanmai, like he would have went for a fucking human, which we'll get more into Calanmai, but like there's something in that Archeron blood.
For sure.
For as much shit as I give about Tammy, there are a few times where like he's not that bad. Like he recognizes all the sacrifices Feyre makes for her family, and it does seem like he's trying. It's just like Ethan, we shit on him left and right and like had to say one nice thing. And I guess like this is our Tamlin moment. Like he took care of her family, even prepping them ready to go when there's a sign of trouble, fulfilling and freeing her from her promise to her mom, and took the time to glamour everyone to spare her from being startled, which I die laughing thinking about Ferris slinking through the halls, like making her weird ass nap, knowing that everyone was glamored and she was not sneaking around.
I just picture that girl like walking around and farting or picking wedgies and people she had no idea people were around.
My visualization is like the craziest because like I picture her like crab walking down the halls, like being sneaky. I don't know why. This is my mind.
Don't picture that. But I'm into it. Like, what if we're always clamping that clam, and what if Feyre's into that too? Like walking down the halls like this.
She's like down the hall.
I have a question for you. When you first read this book, and I know that you were high due to your knee injury.
Thank you for the clarification.
She had just had surgery, guys. So like halfway of the book, she didn't, she was on a different planet. But what were your thoughts on Tamlin? Were you like wooed by him or nay?
I was suspicious of him from the get-go. There was just something about him. Well, honestly, like any guy that's like, your hair is clean, like that's your compliment. Like he's just not that into you.
No. We will talk more about their love story next book for sure. But I don't like blonde men. You have to be an exception to the rule. And I know that is like such a trope thing, but you've known me for how long? I've never been a
A
blonde
few
man.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, just a couple. We're really young. I've never been a blonde man fan.
Well, we only read through this is only discussing through chapter 23. So we're only introduced to Reese for a moment and we get like the infamous like there you are. And so like meeting him this far in the book, like I knew immediately like it wasn't Tamlin. Like Tamlin wasn't like end goals once like in my mind just because of this introduction to this man. It was a done giveaway. Like I just was like I'm not going to vibe with this guy.
No, he's blonde. And with Reese, well, we don't know his name at this point, but like he has dark hair and the most beautiful man that she's ever seen. I'm like, we're not done with this guy yet. Like I knew I was more intrigued by him. I even texted my friends Sarah and Kylie about it right away. I think you even texted me about Reese,
Yeah, I was like who's this guy?
like before we even get to Under the Mountain. So I think, yeah, we knew.
We just, as I knew he was going to be some kind of conflict of interest because,
Hmm.
as a Twilight girly, I was like, are you
Right.
Jacob Black? Who's Edward in this situation?
Truly.
That's where my mind went. I compared it to Twilight.
Millennials, man. Okay. Is it a PETA and Gail situation? Like we know them.
Right?
Yes. A blonde and a dark hair. Wait, were you a PETA gal or you were a Gail?
I liked Gail, but like, I don't know. I was for PETA in that situation. Like, because he really fucking loved her. And so, like, I was totally for PETA.
Book one, I was a hardcore Gail.
Yeah.
And then it didn't help. No shade to the actor Josh, but like I'm gonna pick a Hemsworth. I'm sorry. I just am.
Really tough to go up against a Hemsworth, truly.
He's tall. Sorry,
And
Josh.
he's just not that Josh isn't attractive, but it's a Hemsworth, and like everybody's gonna sit on that face. Take
Yes.
a seat.
Hmm.
I would sit on Lucian's face.
I was just say, speaking of sitting on faces, we know how you feel about a redhead, so go ahead.
I I want to start off by saying like I am aware that Lucian is a bitch to Feyre to begin with, but I immediately loved him just right off the bat.
He's sarcastic. We love sarcastic assholes.
Immediately, I'm like, what a prick. I like him. Lucian is a French boy's name, which means light. I feel like this has no relevance in any of these 5 books yet, but I think it will. So no spoilers there.
Yeah. No, that's also my grandpa's name. Just want to throw that out there. So everyone knows. A little lore for you. Really important.
On which side?
Janet's side. Yeah.
I don't need to know this at all.
He's French. That's not her biological dad, to be fair. That he's French Canadian. So my mom was the love child, literally, with the Italian stallion, my grandpa Charlie. Yeah, that was weird. I called my grandpa Italian stallion, but we're moving past it. Speaking of Lucian, go ahead.
Lucian was the first person to introduce me to, he sketched a bow. Little did I know it'd take me around 10 fucking books to figure out what that meant, because, like, once again, I thought it was sketching a bow, and which could have been like a bow and arrow, and I was like, why would Lucian be drawing that? It was weird, and I just went with it because, once again, it's a fantasy book. Anything's possible.
And we hadn't read fantasy for quite a long time.
It's
so
been
it
a
was,
minute.
at that point, it was like, fucking sketch about, what does this mean? I didn't know. I didn't even fucking question it. It was just like, yep, and I kept moving on.
Until I think I texted you, it was like, oh my God, this finally clicked.
I was like, oh, yeah, I never really thought about it.
I'm just an idiot.
Aren't we all?
In chapter 7, it says, while Lucian ranted to Tamlin about some malfunction of the magical carved eye, your favorite topic, what do you think it was that malfunctioned? Because, like, what do we think his eye even does? I mean, besides see.
I think his eye sees a lot of things. A lot of spells and such. Glamours. I don't know. At this point, we don't know much.
You're like, I just don't want to talk about it, and I want to move on from an eyeball.
I don't like missing digits, guys. I don't like missing eyes. I have a hard time. If you are watching the video, I'm closing one eye. So I think that is I now I'm like Mike Wazowski. So I do like Lulu, but his eye is one reason to be suspicious of him. But another, I think there's a lot more than meets the eye with him. I'm just going to keep going with these puns because I can't help it. Without mentioning what we know about him in later books, the fact that he's given a fox mask makes you wonder. I mean, foxes are known for being cunning and are often depicted as not super trustworthy. Sorry, Nick Wilde from Zootopia. And obviously, we know he can't keep his mouth shut, which is fine. Neither can we. But Tamlin makes the comment, I would pay good money to know what the Suriel thinks about Lucian. What does that mean?
Yeah, why does he want to know? That's his bestie.
Yeah, and like, what is so crazy about Lucian that like the Suriel has tea on him or has an opinion? I don't know. I just thought it was a weird throwaway line.
It is weird, but I have a really important question for you.
Okay, go.
Who's the hotter fox, Lucian or Nick Wilde?
I'm going to pick Nick Wilde, and I know I just picked an animated character, but he has both eyes. I'm sorry. The other problem is I picture Mad Eye fucking Moody, a redhead with a fucked up eye.
Well, you said Mike Wazowski earlier, and now I'm picturing Mike Wazowski with like an auburn wig. And it's killing me.
I'm not trying to ruin him, but like also Mad Eye Moody was a redhead with one whizzing eye.
Not in movies.
It was kind of reddish. It was colored because you know that he had gray hair at that point.
It's Mike Wazowski now. Like, and I was picturing Lucian so hot. So hot.
I mean, look at it though. Lucian is Mike Wazowski. He's got one fucking eye. Tamlin's a fucking beast. He's Sully.
So
Monsters Inc. came out before. So I think Sarah's a fucking liar. It's not just Beauty and the Beast. It's not just Tamlin. No. Monsters Inc.
This is Celia's story.
I don't know. Serpents are a thing in the Maasverse.
They really are, because there are references in this book already about, like, I think it was like Pharaoh, like, making a snake motion. I don't think she was gone, but yeah.
I mean, there's different worlds in Monsters Inc. You go in different doors. I cracked this fucking code.
Okay, so, and yeah, Celia is oh my god, what if Celia is the Vibe Queen?
Yes. What if the Vibe Queen is like schmootsy poo to everyone? Her little Fae Baes.
I love it. Yeah.
Mike Wazowski. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ruin Lucian for you.
No, Roz is actually Farah.
You're not giving Roz, she's not Boo. You're making her Feyre. Okay, just because you're a Nestistan doesn't mean you need to shit on Feyre. I know she's got watery bowels, but quit shitting on her.
I do like Farah. I like Farah a lot, but, you know, I'm gonna pick Nesta over.
No, I think that I can't say anything. Never mind. No words.
Not Monsters Inc., but Monsters nonetheless. Tamlin's dad was allegedly bad, like not a good guy. Not disagreeing
Bad
with
guy.
that. He's a bad guy. He said that his dad was worse than Lucian's. His older brothers, Tamlin's older brothers, were just like him, and they all kept slaves. And when the treaty was forged, like, Tamlin, like, leads off, I remember what my brothers used to ... And I don't know, something about all of this, like, reminds me of Morbin. Like, going back to Crescent City, all these monsters.
I am not against that. And also, for your sake, I feel like hearing what we know about Lucian and hearing what we know about Tamlin, Autumn King's not that bad.
You know, I've had this obsession with the Autumn King. Don't know what. And really, I am getting vindicated here.
You are.
Because
the Autumn King isn't that bad.
The lesser of two evils.
True. Speaking of evil, it is said he turned to me, ancient, brutal, and unyielding, referring to Tamlin. I believe the High Lords have a starry magic. We know the magic comes from the land, and in Crescent City, House of Flame and Shadow, Vesperus tells us, I drank from the land's magic, and the land's magic drank from me. And saying that they're not merely powerful, they are powerful, feels very scary to me. Tamlin can also gift his shape-shifting gifts. You want to know who else can gift powers? The fucking Asteri. And then there was the comment from Feyre, if Tamlin was that powerful, then the High Lords of Prythian must be near gods, which we know they are.
You bring this up makes me think about the Pool of Starlight, because Vesperus said, we hid pockets of our power throughout the lands in case the vermin should cause problems. It seems our wisdom did not fail. I don't think that there was a thin place, so they created it, like Vesperus said. And, like, I think that that's what the Pool of Starlight is. Like, Vesperus leaving shit behind, which that's all it is. It'll come into play later, just not yet. So, like, those evil guys left shit everywhere. Litterers, really.
Truly. They don't pick up after themselves. They're like our children.
There was another moment with the Pool of Starlight that when they arrived there, it said we sat atop a grassy knoll. A grassy knoll overlooking a glade of oaks so wide and so high they could have been the pillars and spires of an ancient castle. What if this isn't a throwaway line and there's an OG castle to be uncovered and Elaine is going to uncover it with earth magic?
I'm convinced she has earth magic. And also for all of our Terracin comments with Terracin and the Spring Court, oak so wide? You mean like the Oakwold Forest?
Once again, there's more connections to the Spring Court. Tamlin's family's fucking weird.
They are. And knowing Tam's family seem to be down with the wicked, it doesn't surprise me that Vesperus and her gang would have the pool on their lands. When Feyre asks about it, Tamlin says it's just a glen, and Lucian snorts. Suspicious.
I wonder if, like, any of the other, like, spooky beings, otherworldly beings, like, are affected by that pool of starlight.
I think it's possible. Which ones do you have in mind?
Curious about the bogey, like, because that's an otherworldly being. It was crafted to slow the healing of high fae long enough to kill them. Like, what if that starlight, like, feeds it, makes it, like, really buff and, like, the Hulk? We're watching Marvel in my household.
Okay, now I'm picturing the bogey as Mr. Waternoose going around. Monsters Inc. is just in my brain. Can't help it.
That's awful. He's they click. Oh my god, that's terrifying. Now the bogey's, like, super scary.
Is. One thing that stood out to me is the bogey's description of being very cold. And in the Crystallis reference, and with that Crystallis reference, I think the bogey came from hell or the void. I mean, tomato, tomato.
Off question, do you think that they bastardize hell in Prythian just like or in Midgard the way that they bastardized word? They went from to erd,
It's possible, but I have a lot of questions about Prythian in general.
and it only gets weirder.
It's so much weirder. So another person that I happen to love is the Surreal.
But he's not necessarily like, one of the creepies, the bad guys. We love him.
Yes. He's referred to as wicked a lot, but
That's why
he's
we
not.
like him.
Yeah, that is probably why we love Morley Gray into it. But I happened to look up some information about Surreal. The name Surreal is of Hebrew origin as and has various interpretations. It is commonly believed to mean God's command or God's prince. In Hebrew mythology, Suriel is often associated with being an angel or archangel, representing the divine authority and guidance. I kept researching and found there is a Sariel in the Bible, also pronounced Suriel in different interpretations. And in one Enoch, he is said to be one of the 7 angels who watch over the spirits that sin in spirit. So, what could this mean? We know he is older than the bones of the world, but not older than the cauldron. Is he an angel of the void?
Would
Who
it
is he?
if he's Amron's brother?
Maybe. I mean, we don't, maybe.
You're like, well, no. Well,
Nothing is off the table. But what was he? Everyone thinks that or not everyone, but the common theory is that he's Keltane.
I don't believe that one. Like, it doesn't vibe with me, so it's wrong.
I like before you fully deep dive the Maasverse, it's fun. I like the thought of it, like random acts of kindness, the cloak, Aelin, I get it, but it doesn't check out to me.
No, it's just not the vibe. I think
No,
it's
but
not.
it's fun.
Watch, we're both wrong, and then that's 100% it. All
I mean,
eco.
I wouldn't be mad about it though. I
Mm,
just don't think that's what it is. I'm like, oh, that's cute. I think it's cute theory. It's not like a makes sense theory.
yeah, it's wholesome, and it'll probably never go anywhere.
Hmm.
We encountered other we
Crowleys.
encountered other spooky beings. The Naga, for example, they were fairies made of shadow and hate and rot, so dark that they seemed made from a starless night, sprung from a nightmare, covered in dark scales and nothing more. They were a horrendous combination of serpentine, there's that snake again, features, and male humanoid bodies with powerful arms ended in polished black, flesh shredding talons. They said, "The Dark Mother has sent us a gift today, brothers," and there are no references to Dark Mother and ACOTAR. This is the only one. Who else would they be referring to?
I I think there's one or two that they could be referring to. First, let's start off with chaos. I mentioned in our coverage of House of Sky and Breath, when Napoleon is giving his family tree lore, he tells us about Chaos, who is the Void's bride, his creator. Apollyon calls her his dam, which means mother. So I believe they are, in fact, the same. Mother, Chaos, Cauldron. And we're also talking about Word and Erd to add to that mix, because like we learned in House of Sky and Breath, the old beliefs were a time when Erd was not a goddess, but a force winding between the worlds. When she was a vat of life, a mother to all, a secret language and universe. So it's a very big possibility that she could be the Dark Mother. Or is she a mother of many faces? But the other possibility is the Dark Mother is Chthona, the goddess from Crescent City. Chthona is considered to preside over mother goddess things. People pray to her for strength, and her priestesses wear black robes, which, with the Underking saying she has a dark crown comment, it really makes us think. Similarly, chthonic is an adjective meaning related to the underworld. Once again, we believe the gods are able to be in multiple worlds at once. Deanna is a god. She does not have rules and morals and codes the way we do. Time does not exist for the way it does for us. So I think those are two possibilities. Or is Chthona also the mother? Like, there's a lot of ways you could go. So as I was saying, they can exist in different worlds, but I want to bring us back to our theory. If you were with us during our Crescent City coverage, you already know this, but Kai and I believe the Throne of Glass world and the Crescent City world is in fact the same. And we spend a lot of time proving that in almost every single episode. I'm pretty sure every episode. We also believe that ACOTAR is the same. And while we hang out together during this deep dive, we'll be building this theory together. Since we aren't spoiling things for later in the ACOTAR series, we will only be drawing from proof from CC and Tog and the current book we're in. But on a basic level, we believe it's a multiverse. Same worlds, but separated by time. We hear this. As far as we knew, the High Fae still govern the northern parts of our world, from our enormous island over the narrow sea, separating us from the massive continent, across depthless fjords and frozen wastelands and the sand-blasted deserts, all the way to the great ocean on the other side. Some fairy territories were empires, some were overseen by kings and queens. Then there are places like Prythian, divided and ruled by 7 high lords, beings of such unyielding power that legend claimed they could level buildings, rape apart armies, and butcher you before you could think. I didn't doubt it. So to start out, Feyre says their world is an enormous island that is over the narrow sea, separating them from the massive continent. Now, using this description, narrow sea was no coincidence. If you look at the southern continent map in Throne of Glass, guess what that sea is called? The Narrow Sea. So she even mentions that some had kings and queens and some have emperors, which tracks with what we learned in Tower of Dawn. Feyre also tells us that she used to hang out in her dad's office a lot, and she described it smelling full of scents, exotic spices, music of foreign tongues, which once again feels like the southern continent.
I mean, well, where the hell is Barat? It says 8 years ago, he amassed our wealth on 3 ships to sail to Barat for invaluable spices and cloth. And then Tamlin says it was risky indeed. Those waters are a death trap unless you go the long way. And then you said the southern continent. I immediately thought of Balrune, which, things can get lost in translation over time. Feyre says he didn't go the long way. It would have taken too much time and our creditors were breathing down his neck. So he risked sending the ships directly to Barat. They never reached Barat's shores. In chapter 38 of Tower of Dawn, Irene says the narrow sea turned rough and unwieldy from Yulmus to Beltane, and it sounds like a sea that could take down Papa Archeron's ships.
100% agree.
Throughout these worlds, the number 500 is mentioned a lot, as well as the treaty is mentioned a lot. Feyre says the few stories I'd heard had been wrong, or 500 years of separation had muddled them. And this time coincides with the city of Valbara's founding, where they built Luna's temple first in Crescent City. This is also close to the age of the sexy Thottim King. It's not relevant. I just wanted to mention him and will continue to do so whenever I can. This also, though, coincides with over 500 years ago in Throne of Glass at Mala's temple. temple. Aelin says Mab was immortalized into godhood thanks to Maeve, but that was over 500 years ago. Mala had a sister in the moon long before Mab took her place. And Rowan replies, Deanna was the original sister's name, but you humans gave her some of Mab's traits, the hunting, the hounds. And then Aelin's like, perhaps Deanna and Mala weren't always rivals. Reminder, Mab is the goddess of the moon, with her government name being Deanna. Mala is the goddess of the sun, and while they were at the sun goddess's temple, they were talking about the moon goddess being immortalized. So, why was the temple for Luna in Crescent City built around the same time Mab, the goddess of the moon, was immortalized, and a treaty in Prythian being signed for peace in a land where the gods are forgotten? These are all forged at the same time? I feel like that's a little weird.
And if you know anything about multiverses, like sometimes if one thing happens, it changes the course in other worlds. It makes perfect sense to me.
Me
This is a great
too.
thought.
But I've also watched every Marvel movie.
Same.
Of
Yeah.
Feyre also describes her world and says this: no one had ever told me why humans chose to linger in our territory when so little space had been granted to us and we remained in such close proximity to Prythian. Fools, whatever humans had stayed here after the war must have been suicidal fools to live so close. Even with the centuries-old treaty between the mortal and fairy realms, there were rifts in the warded walls separating our lands, holes big enough for those lethal creatures to slip into our territory to amuse themselves with tormenting us. What if this rift in the wall is actually like transporting them to hell, and that's where Prythian really is? It's so similar to the Northern Rift, where demons from hell were constantly slipping through, like in Crescent City. It's not impossible because there's the cavern system where like it takes you to other spots in the land.
I don't think it's impossible at all. And this theory can continue to build the more we get into the books. So I think it's 100% possible and probable.
Hell and Prythian are linked.
Mm-hmm.
I want to break down Prythian for everyone. When you add the suffix IAN to something, you're making the word a profession characteristic of something. Like, for example, when you add IAN to magic, you become a magician. So what is Prith? When I Googled it, Prithi came up, and it is used to politely introduce a request or command. It was first recorded in the 1500s by shortening the alteration of I pray thee. And Blakely and I have talked a lot about gods and their roles in these books. This connection just seems kind of wild. Is Prythian a place of prayer? Is it an island for the gods? Were the gods banished there? Why is Prythian so fucking weird? Like, what in the nameless is my price?
I can't even say anything yet, but that is interesting etymology, and I'm glad you told us about this.
Yeah, never looked up Pryth. Like, how did we not know that? It means I pray thee? Like you're praying there? Weird.
A lot of things Sarah definitely takes, but you have to go digging a little bit to find where she got that connection. And it just takes a little something, and you're like, oh my God, there's no way that this wasn't connected.
It all comes back to like the Bible and like gods.
Mm-hmm.
Which, let's have a vocabulary lesson today. It's important here. So today's word is beseech. To beseech is to beg eagerly for, basically ask for with urgency. Knowing that right off the bat in chapter 1, it says anything but fairies. The hunters had beseeched our long forgotten gods, and I had secretly prayed alongside them. If you're praying urgently to a god for anything but fairies, how did they forget these gods? And like, that seems pretty serious. The whole forgotten gods line is a wild start to this book that people boot, scoot, and boogie on by.
But not us.
No.
Nene. Feyre mentions 2 different times about long forgotten gods in the first 16 pages. She does not remember their names. No one does. And it makes you wonder why the gods are forgotten. Now in Throne of Glass, a theme that ran through was nameless is my price. And then Aelin banishes them into a world. So was that the gods' price? They became nameless. I also want to mention just because the gods are forgotten does not mean they are not still there. There are times in the Maasverse where gods have inhabited people. In Throne of Glass, Aelin is inhabited by Deanna. in Crescent City, I believe that Bryce was also inhabited by most likely Deanna, and I think this happens in ACOTAR as well. Once later in the series and once in these chapters. When Feyre's cornered by the Naga, there's a point where there's no reason that she should be alive. Like, there's no way she should get out of this. Her days are numbered. But she says, a white hot flame went through me. Rage or terror or wild instinct. I don't know. I think in this moment, a god made a little cameo. Because in Throne of Glass, our favorite gal pal is known to have white hot flame. Aelin. And where does she get that power? Ah, yes, Mala. Mala only held out her hand. In it lay a kernel of white hot power. A fallen star. I believe Mala helped Feyre in this moment because she knows she's the key to defeating the Asteri. Now, I personally believe there is a civil war between the gods, and I do think the Asteri are gods, and they're fighting with some of the OG Tog gods.
Agreed, and we will continue to build on that. I think the gods do have to do with Calanmai too. When Feyre gets up after Calanmai and has her sexually fueled tension encounter with Tamlin, he says, going somewhere. His voice not entirely of this world. We know the veil is thin on the first day of spring, and when Calanmai is, and the crops depend on the magic generated from Calanmai. And Tamlin had his bare chest painted with whorls of dark blue woad. Do the word marks allow some sort of god to take possession of Tamlin or whichever High Lord?
I think Asteri magic for sure, which one could argue that those long forgotten gods are, like I said, one and the same.
Lucian said, tonight Tam will allow, takes a gap, great and terrible magic to enter his body. The magic will seize control of his mind, his body, his soul, and turn him into the hunter, capital H. It will fill him with his sole purpose to find the maiden. From their coupling, magic will be released and spread to the earth where it will regenerate life for the year to come, and that it wouldn't have been Tamlin who brought her into that cave. We know Aelin has been possessed by a god before, as you said, so it's like not totally out of the realm of the possibility.
No. And now, Kylie, did you know the Great Rite is a thing in mythology? Let's start with Irish folklore. On May 1st, they celebrate Beltane, traditionally held on May 1st. It was the first of summer where they lit bonfires and rituals to help the crop. Now in Welsh, they actually have the same thing called Calanmai. Now in witchcraft, the Great Rite represents the sacred union between god and goddess and performed for fertility and agriculture. One of the ways this is performed is a high priest takes a cauldron, which represents the womb, mother, and then a high priest takes an athame. I don't say that right. Athame. Athame, which is a dagger, and lowers it into the cauldron. Okay, that sounds dirty. Womb, you're putting a dagger. This act represents the union of divine forces. This is accompanied by words about the land of yours, the wine of life, and the cauldron is Ceridwen.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
We will get more into the Great Rite, but we have to wait till Silver Flame. So, like, we're gonna put a pin in that. But that's interesting,
Mm-hmm.
especially that name.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily off topic, but because of reading about Calanmai, I just feel like the Stag King, Morven, is connected to Tamlin's lineage somehow. Like Tamlin's dad and Morven align somewhere, knowing that they were both dicks. Morby had the Cave of Princes. The Spring Court has a sacred cave. Like, why does the Spring Court have to kill a stag? Like, why does Morby have a throne of stag heads? Like, did his bloodline corrupt the Spring Court somewhere along the ways? Is he Peleus's homie?
It's possible. And then you can just add in Terrasen. Now we know Aelin was good, but that doesn't mean that all of her ancestors or like down her line would be good. There's always bad apples.
Takes one to spoil the bunch, you know?
Mm-hmm. Sure does. I think that we will just continue to find more and more connections, especially Terrasen, Spring Court, and our pal Morby. But
Our pal Morby.
we actually hate him, but you know. Thanks for giggling through our journey with us today. We have a new episode every Wednesday. Join us next week as we get into part 2, chapters 24 through 46.
Make sure you hit that follow button wherever you listen and head on over to our social media for our latest updates, theories, and more new book goofing. All links are in our info. You Googling Gal Pals. We will see you next week.